Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to English for You. My name is Joe.
And I'm Mike.
Today, once again, we are talking about the classic children's tale, Charlotte's Web. Now, yesterday, we met one of our main characters. He was a pig named Wilbur, and he was born unlucky. He was born the runt of the litter. He was very small and very weak. So the farmer, his owner, just wanted to kill him. He wanted to take him out with the axe and just put him out of his misery, basically. But Fern came along. Fern was the little girl, the farmer's daughter, and she said she would save him. She would take care of him. She would do everything to make sure he grew up healthy and happy. But a little bit later on, something happened to Wilbur. He got sent away, didn't he?
That's right. He got sent away or sold to another farmer. And life was difficult. He couldn't make friends easily until he met Charlotte, who was a spider who lived in the same part of the barn. Well, where Wilbur was kept, they became good friends. But then he got some terrible news. He heard from one of the other animals that Mr. Zuckerman, the farmer, was going to kill him and eat him for Christmas. So, of course, Wilbur and Charlotte are very afraid of what will happen to Wilbur. They don't want him to become, dinner for someone because he's their friend. So I think Charlotte, when we finished yesterday, had come up with a plan, a cunning plan about how she could save Wilbur from this terrible fate, from this terrible future of being turned into ham and bacon.
All right, let's find out how they are going to save Wilbur from the Christmas dinner table. Let's go ahead and read through day 2 of the article right now.
Reading Charlotte's Web. The following night, Charlotte spins the words "some pig" into her web. In the morning, Lurvy, Zuckerman's farmhand, spots the woven words in Charlotte's web. Before long, news of Wilbur the pig has spread far and wide. Charlotte asks Templeton the rat to help her find more words. Templeton comes back with terrific and radiant. These words make Wilbur even more famous, so Zuckerman enters him into the county fair. Charlotte and Templeton join Wilbur on his journey to the fair. When they arrive, Charlotte is discouraged when she sees a large pig named Uncle, Wilbur's competition. Charlotte knows she's got a long night of spinning ahead of her. Meanwhile, Mrs. Arable is worried about Fern, who's always telling stories about the talking animals on Zuckerman's farm. She takes Fern to see Dr. Dorian, but she's shocked when the doctor doesn't show any concern. Instead, Dr. Dorian tells her that adults might hear the animals too if they stopped talking so much.
The following night, Charlotte spins the words "some pig" into her web.
Wow.
Some pig.
Wait, she can spell?
She knows, she can speak English, and she can write it,
She's
too.
a spider.
She is a very unique spider. She's a magical spider.
Okay.
Some pig here, some means, it's like saying, well, isn't that something? Like,
What
isn't
a
that
pig.
amazing? What a pig.
Awesome pig.
What an amazing pig. It doesn't just mean there is some pig over there.
No.
It means this is an amazing animal, an amazing pig. In the morning, Lurvy, Zuckerman's farmhand.
Wait, Lurvy?
Lurvy.
That's the first time I've heard that name.
Yeah, that's a unique name as well. It's almost as rare as a spider that can spell.
True.
Now, Lurvy, Zuckerman's farmhand, spots the woven words in Charlotte's web. If something is woven, it means that it is, usually it means it's made from wool. It's put together like a wool sweater. We sew it together, in other words, using a needle and thread. So these are woven words in Charlotte's web, and it's spotted by a person who is known as a farmhand. A farmhand is a person who works basically doing basic jobs around a farm. They will go around and they will feed the animals. They will fix the fences if they are broken. They will do anything that needs to be done around the farm, usually involving feeding the animals and repairing things, such as the barns or the pens, the fences, things like that. So Lurvy is a farmhand, and he's the first one to see the words in Charlotte's Web.
And of course, this is a big shock to everyone. First of all, there's this spider web with writing on it, and the writing is talking about what a great pig Wilbur is. So, as the article says, before long, news of Wilbur the pig has spread far and wide. A lot of people are amazed, shocked, and very interested to hear this story. So that's why the news spreads far and wide. When we spread things, we kind of stretch them out or make them cover a larger and larger area. If you think about a piece of bread, if you get a piece of bread and some jam, you don't just put a big blop of jam right in the middle of the bread. No, you get a knife and you take that jam and then you use the knife to push or spread the jam out to the outer edges of the bread, so it covers a larger area. Well, we often use the same verb for news, right? If you want to know the news, you might watch television news. That's how the television stations spread the news. Or if you hear some news, you might put it on Facebook or tweet about it or just tell all the people around you about it. Hey, did you hear this news? And you tell someone, then they tell someone, and it goes on, and soon the news covers or is spread over a wider area. We had that little phrase there, before long, at the beginning. Before long just means after not very much time passes, or quite quickly, news of this amazing pig has spread far and wide. Well, yes, if you spread things like news, you would really like it to go far and wide if you think it's important. That means it goes a long way away from you, or in other words, a lot of people hear this news in the nearest town and then the next town down the road, and pretty soon everyone in the state, everyone in the city, everyone in the country has heard this news. It's gone far and wide. And that's our shortcut for you, so we'll find out more right now.
Shortcut for you.
Hey, I'm back.
Did you find your missing keys?
No, I searched far and wide, but nothing.
Far and wide? Your keys are not very wide.
Far and wide means over a large area.
I see. Far and wide is 四处各地.
You got it. I searched far and wide, but I didn't see them anywhere.
That's terrible. Maybe someone will return them, though.
Yeah. Wait a second. Here they are, in my pocket.
I guess you didn't need to go far and wide after all.
That was our shortcut for you, all about the phrase far and wide. So everybody is hearing about this amazing pig that Zuckerman owns. Now, Charlotte asks Templeton the rat to help her find more words. Okay, so she knows the words some and she knows the words pig.
Yep.
But maybe that won't keep Wilbur around for very long. She needs something new, something fresh, something exciting. So Templeton the rat, he's going to go out and try to find more words that she can spin into her web to describe Wilbur, to amaze people, to keep them interested.
So Charlotte speaks English, but her vocabulary isn't too big.
She's still learning.
I see.
She's still getting
She's
more
in
vocabulary.
grade 1 of Spider English School.
Well, Templeton comes back with terrific and radiant.
Good words, Templeton.
Those very nice words. Good job, Templeton. Terrific, I guess, just means something is great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's like saying fantastic.
Wonderful.
Radiant. If somebody looks radiant, it looks like they're glowing. They're so beautiful or handsome that it almost looks like the sun is shining behind them.
It's like shiny or very bright.
Casting them in a very bright light. We describe, sometimes people often describe pregnant women as being radiant.
Oh, you're radiant. You're glowing.
You're glowing.
With motherhood.
With the beauty of motherhood.
Right. And we can also talk about radiant sun or radiant lights or something like that as well, right? It just spreads out and sort of shines its light all around it.
So they've got these new words, so they're going to try to impress more and more people.
So it's like seeing beautiful, fantastic, wonderful written in a spider's web over a cute little pig.
That's right.
It is pretty weird. These words, though, of course, make Wilbur even more famous. The news spreads even further and even wider. So Zuckerman enters him into the county fair. Well, at least it worked for some of the time, right? He wasn't killed and eaten for Christmas, so that's good. And in fact, Zuckerman the farmer really starts to believe that Wilbur is special, so he enters him into a county fair. To enter someone into generally a competition of some kind means to put that person's name or put that team into the competition. If your school basketball team thinks it's good enough, it might enter a competition to play against another team or many other local teams. If you think you're good at something, playing the violin, spelling English words, making speeches, playing chess, you might enter into competitions as well. That means you become part of it. You join in, you take part, you are one of the competitors. And yes, many of these American states and small country towns have these fairs during the summer, and they're basically somewhere for a lot of the farmers who live quite far away to get together for a day and talk about work and compare notes on the farming season. And they have these competitions. Biggest, most beautiful cow, biggest, most beautiful tomato or pumpkin or something like that. And all the farmers can kind of show off their good work, show off what they've achieved over the year. And for many of the young kids also, I think it's fun too. You can go to the fair, eat lots of junk food, take some rides, and look at a lot of very beautiful and interesting farm animals and farm food.
Charlotte and Templeton join Wilbur on his journey to the fair.
Oh, so they come with him. That's nice.
They're going to go with him, and it's a journey. A journey is like a long trip. You wouldn't describe a very short trip as being a journey. If you have to go across a great distance, then you describe it as being a journey. So they're going to the fair, which again, as Mike said, is basically like a big celebration for the people of a county to get together and, eat some good food. Maybe they'll have some amusement park rides there, things like that. So they're going to go check this place out.
When they arrive, Charlotte is discouraged when she sees a large pig named Uncle, Wilbur's competition. Ooh, so it could be a tough thing for Wilbur to win this competition. A competition is basically a game, anything like that, where you take part, where you're trying to win and other people are playing too, and they're trying to win. We talk about a sports event, like a baseball game, as a competition, but we can have many other types of things, everything from a math competition to a dancing competition. Anything like that where people are playing and trying to win could be a competition. And if you see that the person in the competition against you is really good, you might feel discouraged. You might feel, kind of disappointed and let down, and you feel like the future will not be so successful. You feel like you won't be so successful. You won't win it, or at least it won't be very easy like you'd hoped. So that kind of thing. Their spirits go down and they feel like, this isn't going to work. We're going to lose because that other pig uncle, he's so beautiful. He's so perfect. And maybe he won last year too.
Charlotte knows she's got a long night of spinning ahead of her. If something is ahead of you, that means it's coming up. It's in the future. So she says, well, Uncle, he's such a miraculous, handsome pig. I'm going to have to do a lot of work all through the night in order to make people pay attention to Wilbur. Now, meanwhile, Mrs. Arable is worried about Fern, who's always telling stories about the talking animals on Zuckerman's farm. Yes, this would be a concern. If your daughter was telling stories about talking animals, you might think your daughter was having some problems.
Possibly.
But she's the only one who seems to be able to see or to understand these animals. Often in these stories, it's the children that can understand the animals because their minds are more open. They're more open-minded, and they can accept that animals can talk too.
That's right. Instead, Dr. Dorian tells her that adults might hear the animals too if they stop talking so much. So Dr. Dorian kind of feels that Fern is just being a kid. Sometimes kids have imaginary friends. They have great imaginations. So instead of being worried about Fern, Dr. Dorian actually tells the mom that, Mrs. Arable, I think the problem is you. You're talking too much. If you just stopped and let your imagination go and thought like a child, like your daughter, you would probably hear talking animals too. In other words, don't worry about it. She's just a kid being a kid. We use instead here, this adverb is used to show that one action replaces another action, and often it's the opposite, or it's a surprising action. So, for example, it was my birthday. My friends asked me if I wanted to go out to a restaurant, and I said, said, well, instead, let's stay home. Let's do something quite different from going out. We'll stay home. We'll take the place of the first thing, going out, with another thing that's quite different, staying home. So instead of being worried and thinking, yes, your daughter's sick, she's crazy, Dr. Dorian said, no, she's totally normal. You're the one who should start to be a little more childlike and use your imagination like your daughter is.
So this wasn't what Mrs. Arable had expected, I guess. She took Fern to see Dr. Dorian, as we saw in the previous sentence, but she was shocked when the doctor doesn't show any concern. If you're shocked, it means you're amazed. You weren't expecting something to happen. It was very unexpected. And the doctor didn't show any concern. If you're concerned about something, it means you're worried. And the doctor was not worried about Fern. He's just saying, well, this is just what kids do.
Yeah.
And perhaps you should be more like a kid as well. So this was not what Mrs. Arable expected. Well, this brings us to the end of day 2. We're going to have the conclusion on tomorrow's program. Before we leave you today, though, let's go to our For You chat.
For You chat.
At the end of the story today, we saw that Mrs. Arable, she was worried. She was concerned about her daughter because she was saying, well, we've got all these talking animals on our farm, and which would probably make a parent concerned. But the doctor, Dr. Dorian, he was not worried. So let's examine this a little bit. Mike, can you think of a reason why Dr. Dorian might not be worried about Fern?
Well, we kind of touched on it when we were talking about the story back there. I think because he thinks Fern is just being a kid. Kids have great imaginations. They can take a box and turn it into an airplane, a spaceship, a house, a boat, a pirate ship, anything that they can imagine. And so for Dr. Dorian, I think if Fern is a young girl and she's talking to the animals, well, she's surrounded by animals. Maybe she doesn't have a lot of kids around her to be, friends with. So she's kind of turned the animals into some of her friends. I would think that's pretty nice.
I think, kids often do this, and I don't think it is a concern. Kids often have imaginary friends.
Sure.
They'll be standing there by themselves, and then they'll come to you and say, hey, I want you to meet my friend. And you look around, and there's nobody there, but they're pointing to somebody, and they're describing them, and describing their personality, and the things they like to do, and the way they look. I think that's normal.
Yeah. So if she's a 27-year-old woman who still has imaginary friends or talks to spiders,
that would be different.
That would be a little strange.
That would be a little bit different.
But for kids, I think it's good.
For kids, I think it's totally normal. Well, that brings us to the end of the program today. Tomorrow, the conclusion of Charlotte's Web. Until then, I'm Joe.
I'm Mike.
Goodbye.
Charlotte's Web. The following night, Charlotte spins the words "some pig" into her web. In the morning, Lurvy, Zuckerman's farmhand, spots the woven words in Charlotte's web. Before long, news of Wilbur the pig has spread far and wide. Charlotte asks Templeton the rat to help her find more words. Templeton comes back with terrific and radiance. These words make Wilbur even more famous, so Zuckerman enters him into the county fair. Charlotte and Templeton join Wilbur on his journey to the fair. When they arrive, Charlotte is discouraged when she sees a large pig named Uncle, Wilbur's competition. Charlotte knows she's got a long night of spinning ahead of her. Meanwhile, Mrs. Arable is worried about Fern, who's always telling stories about the talking animals on Zuckerman's farm. She takes Fern to see Dr. Dorian, but she's shocked when the doctor doesn't show any concern. Instead, Dr. Dorian tells her that adults might hear the animals too if they stopped talking so much.
Vocabulary Review.
Weave. The old women taught us how to weave baskets out of small tree branches. Spread. The news about the Hollywood actor visiting Taiwan spread quickly. Soon, everyone knew about it. Terrific. The sandwiches here are so terrific that people are willing to wait in line just to get one. Fair. The children enjoyed all the games and food at the fair. Journey. I asked Ethan to join me on my long journey across the country. Instead. I thought it would rain today, but it's nice and sunny instead.